Writing is really my first love. I started writing nonfiction when I was 12, and it's always been a passion of mine, and really the way that I express myself sort of most sincerely. And I'm very lucky to have this job doing the TV show, but I wanted to make sure that writing was also going to be a part of my career that was just as important and not just sort of a side project that I do to promote the television show, but really its own art form. And so I feel really lucky that I have a publisher, Random House, who knows that and takes that seriously and lets me, do things like have my strange 1970s text-based cover and my, weird cultural meanderings in the book. But what the book is it's a series of essays, autobiographical essays, that focus on some of the kind of the main issues that I think face young women today. And so things like, body image, the rise of technology and socializing and dating, the effect that the media has on our image of ourselves, how to respect yourself and find a relationship where you feel equally respected. Sort of the big struggles that I've gone through in my ripe age of 28, I really wanted to not just sort of bloviate about and give advice on, but really explore. My dream, when I was like 9, I would always tell my parents, like, I'm writing a novel, and it would be like 9 pages long, but I'd like print it out and bind it and be like, should I send it to publishers? What's my next step? And so to me, and I love reading. I'm at any given time reading 11 different books. I love poetry, nonfiction, fiction. I love reading criticism of books. I love the world of books. And so for me, it was always a dream to see my writing bound and printed in that way. And when I started doing girls, it was such an all-consuming, I made a feature and then I went immediately into doing girls, and it was so all-consuming that I lost touch with my prose for a little bit. And it was interesting. It was after shooting the first season of Girls, it was a very overwhelming time. My life was changing, and starting to write essays again actually really grounded me and gave me a much needed perspective on sort of the world I was entering as an actor and participant in this strange game we call Hollywood. The really nice thing about the book is that it's a private, solitary activity that I can undertake at night, on the weekends. I have a really great relationship with my editor, and he puts up with receiving my essays at odd hours, and the fact that he's often getting edits back at 4:30 in the morning. But for me, the process of writing the book actually really complemented making the show, because making a show involves so much collaboration. I mean, you write alone, but then you deal with all of these crew members, all of whom you need and all of whom know so much more than you, but crew members, actors, producers, the network. And I love everyone I work with, but sometimes I missed that kind of one-on-one relationship to writing, and the book really gave me that. Girls is sort of at its core a show about being female and a show about being female right now, and my book is about that too. That's sort of the topic that will haunt me till I die. But I think in a book, it allows a certain level of commentary. When I'm playing a character, I cannot step outside of my behavior and be like, just so you know, she's acting like a complete jerk right now. So the great thing about essays and about prose in general is it allows all those sort of meta layers of commentary, and for you to really explore a topic deeply and from a number of angles. And there's also something so beautifully subjective about writing, especially in the first person, that you can't quite achieve through filmmaking. So I've realized I really need both of those forms of expression to feel satisfied. A big part of the inspiration for the book was this Helen Gurley Brown book called Having It All that I found in a thrift store when I was going to college in Ohio. And it's Helen Gurley Brown, the famed editor of Cosmopolitan, wrote a book that was her opinion on how to have the most complex, beautiful, satisfying life as a woman. And I loved the book, and it had this incredible, just the look of it, because I found it in a thrift store. It was aged. It had this very, very retro type. And she actually was on the cover of her book, but below this beautiful kind of winding 70s font. And my favorite book covers have always been sort of, everything from Gloria Steinem to Philip Roth, these really graphic text-based covers from the 70s. Exactly, strong type. And I have a friend, Teddy Blanks, who's a graphic designer, and we really geek out about like fonts together. We're font nerds. And so we really font nerded out on this cover and on the book. And another thing I feel lucky about is one of my best friends, Joanna Avila, illustrated the book. All my tattoos come from children's books. I can't show them all now, but I have one from Ferdinand the Bull and one from Eloise. And children's illustration is another sort of, I wouldn't say hobby because I don't do it, but it's another passion of mine, typography and illustration. And so in the book, not only did I get to personally express myself, but I got to really engage in these art forms that I love, typography and illustration. So I really want the book to be an object that mothers want to give their daughters and friends want to give to each other and people hold on to, and not sort of a disposable paperback. And it was really important to me that the book not be touted as sort of like the tell-all story of girls, because a lot of it has nothing to do with sort of my life post the show or in any way being a celebrity. It has to, another word I can't seem to say without quotes, it has to do with sort of memoir and the specificity of my experience growing up in New York in the 80s and having parents who are artists, and I really wanted that story to stand on its own. Thank you so much, what a pleasure.